I just found one of my ball pythons sitting on some eggs.
It looks like she kicked one of the eggs out of the clutch, so it's rapidly cooling, and I need to get it inside of the incubator along with the others as fast as I can.
It looks like there's a total of 7 eggs, but one of those eggs does not look good. It's rather small and it's kind of squishy and wet. I'll get a closer look at it and then decide if we should remove it or not.
But before we do that, I'm going to mark the tops of all of these eggs as we found them.
I'll mark the loose egg as I found it, but it did roll around a bit, so I'm going to have to candle it and then remark it so I ensure that the embryo is facing up. So the squishy egg does not look good. I have a feeling that it's going to start molding, so I don't want to leave it with the rest of the clutch.
This egg is still wet, so if I'm careful, I should be able to peel it away from the rest of the clutch without damaging the good egg.
The eggs initially come out wet, and then once they dry, they all stick together. I'm not too sure why this one didn't dry. Maybe it was because of the positioning, but I'm glad it didn't because it peeled away pretty easily.
This is sort of an unusual slug, so I'm definitely going to open it up to see what's inside.
When I candled it, I noticed that there are some darker spots inside of the egg, but there's no network of blood vessels, so I'm pretty confident that it was never fertilized. The other eggs look good, however, they're not in perfect position, but it's not worth the risk of accidentally tearing them, trying to separate them to put them in the proper position. But I will reposition the loose egg so the embryo is facing up and then mark it.
If all goes well, these eggs should hatch in about 55 to 60 days, but I'm going to get them in the incubator and we'll check up on them again soon. Now let's open that bad egg.
Catch the full slimy, gooey egg cutting reveal on our Patreon. When I found this ball python sitting on eggs, I noticed that she didn't have one of the eggs wrapped up.
This clutch is now on day 10 of incubation, so let's check up on it.
The egg that she didn't wrap up has developed this wet-looking spot on it. So why is this occurring? Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I have 2 different thoughts.
But before I get into it, let me hit it with the antifungal powder to help dry up that wet spot and prevent any mold from growing.
My first thought is the one that I think is more accurate of the 2. If you remember a few weeks ago, my incubator died and I had to switch to a new one. Well, I'm noticing that this incubator is holding humidity a lot better than the last one, which is a good thing, but I've been preparing my egg boxes for incubating in the old incubator. So I think that there's a little bit too much humidity inside of the incubator.
So going forward, I'm going to have to adjust the substrate consistency to compensate for an incubator that holds much better humidity.
My other thought is that maybe because she didn't wrap it up and it sat outside of the clutch for a few hours that caused an issue. But I don't think that's the case because she laid it on the warm side of the enclosure and that sits at around 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect for incubation.
I'm going to skip the plastic wrap this time because that holds even more humidity, but I'm going to get these eggs back in the incubator now and we'll check up on them again soon.
These ball python eggs are on day 29 of incubation, so they're about halfway done.
This is the clutch where one of the eggs developed a really large wet-looking spot, and I'm a little bit nervous about it.
The first thing I did today was wipe off the excess condensation on the side of the tub, and then I checked up on the eggs. If you remember last time, I put some antifungal powder on these eggs to help dry up this wet spot. But as you could see, it really didn't dry up anything, so maybe it's not a wet spot at all. It may be a portion of the egg that just didn't calcify properly, similar to an egg window.
Let's candle the egg to see if we could find anything unusual going on inside.
Holding a bright light up against the eggshell, I could see that things are developing inside. However, I don't see any movement, but I'm not really too concerned with it because everything looks like it's developing as it should. The egg with the spot on it looks a little bit unusual. You could see that there's no veins on the inside of the eggshell where that spot is, and this supports my belief that it's a portion of the egg that didn't calcify properly and not a wet spot.
That spot has a little bit of a green tint to it that makes me a little bit nervous, but at this point all we could do is incubate it and hope for the best. I'm gonna get these eggs back in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again soon.
One of the eggs in this clutch looked like it was going to go bad.
And honestly, it still doesn't look very good, but I don't think it's gotten any worse. Let's take a closer look at it.
Not long after this egg was laid, it started to develop this spot, and then that spot started turning green. I treated it with some antifungal powder with the hopes of drying up the spot and preventing any mold from growing. When I candled it before, there was no eggs growing on that wet spot. But looking at it now, it looks like there are some.
Which is a good sign. It means that the snake is still developing inside. I just hope that it could survive another 2 weeks and hatch out without any issues.
This clutch has the potential to hatch out a lot of different color and pattern combinations, including blue-eyed leucistics, which are all white snakes with blue eyes. There's really not much else I could do for this egg, other than just continue to incubate it and hope for the best. This clutch of eggs should be hatching in less than 2 weeks, but a lot could happen in that time, so I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on this egg.
I'm hoping that we hatch out some blue-eyed Lucies in this clutch, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to get these eggs back in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again soon.
This clutch of eggs is on day 55 of incubation, so it should be hatching any day now.
You can see how the eggs are significantly dented in now. That means that the eggs are close to hatching.
Now, if the eggs looked like this and we were only on day 30 of incubation, that would be a sign that the eggs are significantly dehydrated. But since we're on day 55, I'm not too concerned. What I am concerned about is this egg. It's always had this funny spot on it, and I found a little bit of mold on it today.
The egg doesn't look great, but it hasn't gone completely bad. Something is still growing and living inside of there.
At this point in time, the snakes inside are fully developed, and they're just absorbing the last little bit of nutrients from the egg as they prepare to hatch. When I candled the eggs today, there wasn't much to see at all, because the snakes now take up the majority of the inside of the egg. That, coupled with the shadows from all the dents, make it difficult to see anything. But I could feel the snakes responding to my touch as I picked up and palpated the eggs.
This clutch does have the potential to hatch out blue-eyed leucistics, and we haven't hatched out any this season so far, so I'm really hoping that we do.
I'll get these eggs back in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again soon. This clutch of ball python eggs is now on day 56 of incubation.
We've been waiting to see what's going to happen with this egg that has the spot on it. It's not pipping yet, but one of the eggs is.
The baby snake inside of this egg made one tiny slice, so I'm going to cut that opening up a little bit wider so we could check on the snake. This clutch does have the potential to create blue-eyed leucistics, which is an all-white snake with blue eyes, and I'm really hoping that we hatch one. Using a pair of scissors, I cut slowly and carefully, ensuring that I don't harm the snake.
The little bit of red that you're seeing is not an injury to the snake. It's just from the blood vessels that run on the inside of the eggshell.
This is not the blue-eyed leucistic that we were hoping for, but it does look absolutely beautiful. We'll just have to wait until it crawls out of the egg to see what morph it actually is. After cutting the eggs open a little bit wider, I like to put them back in the incubator and let the snake crawl out when it's ready.
Although I am excited to see what these babies are going to look like, sometimes they need a little bit more time to absorb the rest of their yolk. I'm going to get these eggs back in the incubator, but we'll check up on them again real soon.
These ball python eggs are on day 57 of incubation and they started hatching.
In fact, one of the babies already crawled out of the egg and it is a beauty.
And even more importantly, this little one looks healthy. It still has a little bit of its yolk stalk left, which is similar to an umbilical cord, but in a day or so it'll dry up and fall off. This is not the egg that pipped yesterday. That little one still hasn't crawled out. And it looks like the third and fourth egg pipped in this clutch as well. Let's cut them open a little bit wider so we could see if we got that blue-eyed leucistic that we're hoping for.
I could confirm that this is not a blue-eyed leucistic, but it does look like it's a lesser pinstripe, which I'll consider as a win.
I'll get this little one situated and let it crawl out on its own, but let's take a look at the fourth egg and see what's inside. Just by the quick glance inside, I could tell that it's not the blue-eyed leucistic that we're hoping for. As always, I cut the egg slowly and carefully, ensuring that I don't harm the baby snake inside. This one appears to be another pinstripe, so we are lucking out with the pinstripe combination.
We still have 2 eggs left to pip, so I'm going to get them back in the incubator and we'll check up on them again tomorrow.
This was not the outcome that I was hoping for.
These ball python eggs are now on day 58 of incubation and 3 of the snakes are completely out of their eggs.
And right now, these babies are looking good. Out of the 6 eggs in this clutch, 3 of the snakes are now out. First, I'll clean up some of these eggs and then we'll check up on the rest of the snakes. It's a little unusual that the first snake that pipped still hasn't crawled out of the egg. From what I could see, it looks okay, but this is definitely not normal behavior. I'll give it one more day, and if it still hasn't crawled out, we'll have to pull it out to check up on it.
Now this egg has pipped. Let's open it up a little bit wider and see what's inside.
Since snake eggs are soft, I'm able to pinch off a portion of the egg and then cut off that portion, which ensures that I don't harm the snake. This one is still not the blue-eyed leucistic that we were hoping for, but it does appear to be another pinstripe combination, maybe a lesser pinstripe or an inchy lesser pinstripe. We'll have to wait until it crawls out of the egg to be sure. This little one looks healthy, but it's definitely not ready to get out of bed yet, so I'm going to put it back in the incubator and let it crawl out on its own.
The ending of this video is unfortunate and it is not for everyone, so I'm going to put it exclusively on my Patreon page. I'm going to get the rest of these eggs back into the incubator and we'll check up on them again soon.
Our pinstripe clutch is all out of the eggs, so now we gotta get them ready for their first shed.
This turned out to be a beautiful clutch. Let's take a closer look at some of the babies.
Out of 4 snakes, if you look closely, you could see that 3 of them have a similar sort of pattern. That's because those 3 snakes contain the pinstripe gene. Now there is some variation between the pinstripes because they contain another gene as well.
This little one is the only one that's not a pinstripe. I believe it's just an inchy.
And I believe this last one is a single gene pinstripe. So now we have to wait a few days for them to shed. So the main thing I'm concerned with right now is keeping the humidity level high and ensuring that they're well hydrated. So I'm keeping them on a damp paper towel, and I'm including a water dish in case they need a drink. The baby on the bottom left is a kingpin, or a lesser pinstripe, just like the mother. And the bottom right I believe is an inchy pinstripe, or maybe just a single gene pinstripe, I'm not sure yet.
Identifying ball python morphs can be tricky sometimes, so let me know which you think they are in the comments below.
I'm really happy with the way this clutch turned out, but I'm going to get these guys back into the incubator and we'll check up on them again soon. It's been 9 days since these baby snakes first crawled out of their eggs.
And they just shed for the first time. Take a look at how absolutely gorgeous they are.
The first shed typically happens about 7 to 10 days after hatching. After that first shed, baby ball pythons won't shed again for about another 3 to 4 weeks. And they'll continue to shed every 3 to 4 weeks until they're about 6 months old. Somewhere around the 6-month mark, the frequency of the sheds will slow down to about every 4 to 6 weeks. The sheds will continue at this rate until they're about a year old.
During the first year, the snakes experience the fastest growth rate of their life. That's why they're shedding so much.
At 1 year old, growth rate tends to slow down a little, which in turn slows down the frequency of the shed. Now, snakes never truly stop growing, but I would say after the 5-year mark, it becomes very minimal, so shedding becomes less frequent. We could expect adult ball pythons to shed once every 6 to maybe 10 weeks.
Of course, how much, how often, and what you're feeding the snake will impact its growth rate and therefore the shedding rate.